chimichangas, everyone getting nerdy. Fly with Adrian APM, also known as Silent High, the comic guy. Boom, pow, got pops like Bunker. How you like me now? Eating comics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. A real winner, like DP and Spidey, talking about other superheroes. Let's open some mystery boxes and celebrate weirdos. Imagination never ends, united through comics, we all friends.
Why, hello everyone, I'm Adrian APM and I'm not wearing any pants. Or maybe I am, you'll never know. Today, we had originally a really cool interview lined up with Ross Richie, and unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, he could not make it.
Boom!
Oh, hello. April Fools!
Can't escape me, Adrian. It's not going to happen. I'll find your channel. I'll track you down. I'll hijack my way in.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you a little bit about Ross Richie. Ross Richie is the founder and CEO of Boom Studios, and he has won Diamond Comic Distributors Publish of the Year 9 times. His new series, Berserker, created by Keanu Reeves, has sold over 625,000 copies, becoming the biggest launch in comic shops in nearly 30 years. He is executive producing Disney Plus TV shows, Just Beyond, currently in production in Atlanta, based on the best-selling Boom graphic novel series from Goosebumps, R.L. Stine. Boom just launched the new Magic the Gathering series based on the billion-dollar franchise card game, which will go on sale in comic shops this April.
This Wednesday, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, I'm forgetting. It's already
very next Wednesday, April 6th.
Nice. And so it's great to have you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And I just gave you a little introduction there, so now you guys kind of know who the man is here. But if people really, even from that, if they're just like, who are you, man? Tell us, Ross, who are you, man?
Well, I'm a crazy Texan who moved to Los Angeles in the early 90s, and I founded Boom in 2005, and you'd probably know us from Something is Killing the Children and Once and Future. We also publish Power Rangers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We've got Magic coming out. It's the biggest launch. I was trying to do the sales comps on it the other day, and I think it's the biggest launch. I think it's safe to say it's the biggest launch for Magic Comics in 25 years.
Wow.
Basically, the sales stats go back to 1996. And I worked at Malibu Comics in the early 90s when Valiant put out a Magic the Gathering comic book from, they had an imprint called Armada. And so if you go onto eBay and look at the very first Magic comic book it's published, I've been seeing people online, they're like, the Armada. It's like, that was Valiant's imprint. It's a Valiant book. But that was published in it's probably 94, 95. And I think they sold an insane amount of that book. So we didn't beat that. But best selling in 25 years is pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And so that comes out on Wednesday. And then I'm trying to think about, maybe your audience has read We Only Find Them When They're Dead, or one of my favorites, Al Ewing's a genius and Simone's beyond brilliant. And then I love Seven Secrets from Tom Taylor and Daniele Di Niccuolo. That is my best Italian accent right there. It does not get any better.
As long as you throw one of these as you do it, you know.
Yeah, right. And that probably covers it. I'm just trying to think about what else the audience might know. Maybe people know Lumberjanes. So
I would think so. I think got the Lumberjanes right below you there on the screen, and
there they are. Yeah, right. Yeah. I should just read the screen.
Right. Yeah, you got a little
unsound. Bill and Ted. Right.
We definitely have a bunch of fans of Boom Studios here. DJ Links, Dean Lucrucius, Steel Suspense, Slotted Up, Shattered Glass. Good to see you guys, everybody. Really good to see you. Average Will, I know he's a big fan of your stuff.
Wow, cool.
So there's definitely a lot of people popping in that are just huge fans. I wanted to ask, since we're kind of talking, it's in the indie realm, like, how do you feel like about how like indie has just in my eyes, I know Marvel and DC they're still big, but I feel like indie has taken over and I'm loving it.
Well, it's interesting. I'm maybe not going to answer the question in a way that's satisfying for you, so that I'll apologize for that.
That's okay.
Already. But I don't look at things in categories like that,
Sure.
right? And so what I look at is I go, here comes Once and Future from Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora. And when Kieran pitched it, we were trying to figure out how Dan had been working on Buffy, how we could put him in and make it work and make it the biggest series that we possibly could do. And I looked at it from a perspective of the staff was excited about Magic the Gathering, and it's like, how do you put something out that they're like, how do you harness their excitement editorially and on a marketing and on a sales basis?
Right.
And I sort of don't look at it as like us versus them, or like there's big two, or whatever it is. And the thing that was always interesting to me about publishing is like, and it makes my dreams come true with something like Lumberjanes, is like, there's Batman, but there was a day when there wasn't Batman.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you as a publisher create something that's a phenomenon? Like, the ultimate achievement would be to create the next Batman, to create the next Wolverine. Sure. Right. Now, I'm terrible at drawing and I'm terrible at writing, so I can't do either one of those. But I'm pretty good at publishing, so I can identify people who are talented. So the thing that was exciting to me was like, let's go do Lumberjanes, let's go do Something's Killing the Children, and let's go be the next, like, let's be Marvel. Right. Marvel didn't, and I don't know if when Marvel started out, and this is, maybe your audience doesn't know this, but like when they started for about 25 years, Marvel was a schlocky publisher. I mean, I don't know that people know that. And Marvel, if Stan was here, he would tell you. I mean, I was friends with him. I knew Stan Lee. And Stan would, and Stan would tell you, because like Martin Goodman, the original publisher for Marvel, here was his idea. His idea was, whatever's hot, we're going to do a retread version of that. The first two Marvel hero characters, okay, was Kazar, who was a reskinned version of Tarzan with blonde hair, okay, and then back in the old Lone Ranger radio show, they used to introduce the Lone Ranger as the Masked Rider, and Marvel actually created a character called the Masked Rider while that radio show was on the air. It was basically Lone Ranger with the name changed. So they were a trend following. If they were all about the fads, right? And so it took them 25 years to become the Marvel that and that's an incredible accomplishment. It's like, they didn't just show up as the greatest entertainment company the world's ever seen.
Right. Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, how do you get out of bed in the morning and you go, okay, I'll make this one decision and this decision, and we'll just get there inch by inch by inch and progress there the way that Marvel did it and the way DC, I could bore you to tears with the story of how DC did it. Right. And so it's all very, to me, that's the fun of it. And I don't really think of it as like, well, there's indies over here. I mean, I want IDW and Image, and I want Dark Horse to do great.
Right.
I want fans to show up on Wednesday and heads to be exploding. Like, I can't buy all the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been in the store when it's rocking like that. And there's like this great energy and there's this excitement and people want to be there. And that's the best thing for the retailers. And we wouldn't be here without the retailers. So I don't want anybody to get tangled up with like, I don't like the indies, or I don't want to be looked at as, people can take all sorts of crazy ideas that they hear. I mean, I love it all. I love comics. I love all kinds of comics. But for me, I just don't think of it as like, this is over here and this is over here. I think of it all in one giant ecosystem, and like then focused on, boom, how can we each day get better, 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 better? And what's the goal? And the goal is to do things like Lumberjanes and Something Is Killing the Children, as far as like, the audience reaction.
Well, speaking of Something's Killing the Children, we got a few people in here right now. Funny enough, Mike the Collector, he had said that He's been collecting since '91, and Something is Killing Children is the only book he can get his 21-year-old daughter to read. And I think the same for Average Will, that his daughter was not a reader of comics, but she will read Something is Killing the Children. And that breakthrough, it's so awesome. I mean, that's got to make you feel pretty great.
Absolutely. And that's hugely motivating for me as a publisher. Like from the beginning, I've always been interested in, I love comics. And, how do you get more people to read comics? You can't find anybody who's never seen a movie. Right? You can't find anybody who's never seen a TV show. You can't find anybody who's never read a novel. Now, they might not be a big novel reader now, but they've actually read a novel.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah.
But you can find all sorts of people that have never read a comic book. And so how do we get them to read comics? And you'll see from the publishing that I did very early on, I was always interested, like when we did the kids stuff, people, literally huge people that you would blow your minds level of professionals would say, what are you doing? Kids don't read comics. And, first comic I read, I was 6. And so to me, and nowadays you've got Dogman and you've got all this stuff. But back in 2005, when I started the company, we started publishing for kids. People said that was crazy. And we always published a lot of content that was accessible to women. And certainly Lumberjanes is both. It's a kid's book and it's for women. It's by women with a predominantly female audience. There's male readers, of course. But that's always been an area that I wanted to participate in, to be a part of, like a problem to solve. Why aren't there more women reading comics? And, Something is Killing the Children having a large female readership is pretty unsurprising to me. I mean, Erica is an iconic character, and I can easily see a female audience loving her. And I think she's written really three-dimensionally. I think James did a brilliant job on it, and Werther's character design speaks for itself. I mean, it's transcendent and brilliant.
All right. I gotta say that's a beautiful answer. Because it is. No, it is. Like I love how it reaches out to you. Somebody's asking right here. This is a good. They said boom titles tend to be limited series, and their drives to get. Are there any drives to get to like a more continuous series, or?
Well, I think we do a mix. So Something is Killing the Children's an ongoing. Once and Future is an ongoing. We Only Find Them When They're Dead is going to be more limited in scope, but it's not a 4-issue or a 5-issue miniseries. It's much longer than that. And that's dictated by the creator, by Al, having a very specific story that he wants to tell. And so we really look at what is, the first thing is, what are these great creators that we want to work with? Okay, great. Now we're talking to them. What are the 5 to 10 ideas you have? Okay, great. We found one of those. Now we're all excited about this. Maybe we're working with a writer. Now we got to find an artist to pair you with. And then it's like, okay, how long is the story? And really what we do is we try to create great material and then let the material dictate how long the series is. One of the things about Something is Killing the Children that your audience might enjoy knowing, maybe they don't know, we had to really kind of coax James to think of Something is Killing the Children in a bigger way. He originally pitched it as a 5-issue miniseries, and the idea is the first 15-issue arc he was going to do in the first issue as a standalone. Oh, basically, wow. Erica comes to town, this tiny little Wisconsin town, fights the monsters, leaves. That was the idea of the issue 1. And then she kind of gets on the bus and then goes to the next town. And as he was going through the first issue, like we were going, come on, bro, this is bigger than you think it is. Right. And he discovered that through the first issue and was like, I need more space. And, or I think the way he puts it is, I need more rope. I have a YouTube channel where I did an interview, a 3-hour interview with him. And he talks about this very extensively. And your audience might be interested in it when it's actually coming from the creator as opposed to me, because James is far more charismatic and interesting than I am. But it's it's at the end of the day, the best stuff is going to be dictated by what everybody's excited and comfortable with. And and obviously sales is another thing.
Sure.
If we're excited to do an ongoing and nobody buys it, well, we got bills to pay. You gotta
right.
um
This one's a little like kind of offbeat, but like I don't know if I've ever found this out. Like how many? I realized. Okay, so Boom Studios. How many names in your head did you go through when you were trying to figure out like this is gonna be it? This is like were you just like sitting there going boom baby?
It's funny, I just did an interview on Sketched about this, and there was really only ever one, and
Okay.
it was, I think the original title was Boom Productions. And when I worked at Malibu Comics, I thought about, well, if I did something on the side, what would it be called? And the thing I was always amazed by was I didn't know any companies named Boom. Like I think simple's better. And the idea that at the time when I was at Malibu, I was like, I didn't know that I'd be in comic book publishing. It was my day job, but I live in Los Angeles, and that's the home of Hollywood. So who knows where I was going to end up? And I have a film degree originally, but when it came time to launch the company, the idea in 2005 that there would be no company named Boom that was publishing comics, it was seemed fairly obvious to me. I don't know how smart I am. I was just like, there's nothing's named Boom.
I started a company called Anti-Famous just because I loved it.
Oh, there you go.
And people are like, "What? You're Anti-Famous?" Like, no, it's just a great name.
Right, right.
So so we're being where you're at today. Then, is there anything? Because I've heard you talk about being back at your place, having the your where Boom started in the spare bedroom.
Spare bedroom, yep.
Is there anything you'd like look at yourself and be like, Ross, do this, don't do that? Like, was there anything you just like, you need to try this, don't do that?
Yeah, and I would give it as general career advice. The thing that I would counsel people with is when I was launching, I was really, really, really worried about the downside. And so, I was terrified. I still am, even to this day, to a certain degree. So if you are mistaking me for having bravado, it's not true. I'm, scared on a daily basis with what we do. But it was like I spent too much time worrying about I'm going to lose my shirt and I'm going to die in a ditch. And I didn't spend enough time thinking about what is the biggest thing that I could do. And so I have found that concentrating on what is the biggest thing that we could do right now is much more fruitful. And I think that's true if you're an artist or if you're a writer. I think it's true if Adrian, you're running Anti-Famous. It's like, think big. It's a business cliche, but I've sort of learned it. It's taken me 15 years to really understand that. It's true.
Sure. So besides, because I'm sure you read. I mean, I'm sure you read the majority of what comes out of Boom because you probably get to read it early, correct?
It's the best part.
Right. Is there anything that do you still technically have like a pull list anywhere? Is there something are there books out there that certain ones you're like, oh, I got to read this every time it comes out? Is there something like out there that you read?
Yeah, I have a local comic shop, and I'm always there Wednesday morning. And I was really enjoying Black Cat from Marvel, and I was getting after editorial to look into Jed. So if you're not reading Black Cat from Marvel, Jed MacKay's writing it, and Jed is doing a spectacular job. I've never been interested in Black Cat as a character, and I don't mean that as a dig. I just don't, I'm one way or the other, not negative, not positive. And I just sort of bought the first issue on a lark and was pretty blown away by what he did. And he's writing Magic for us now.
Oh, cool.
So that was really exciting. And then, I would love to do more with Jed. And Al Ewing is the same way. I was reading Al's work. He did a US Avengers run. And I picked up the US Avengers, and it was a bunch of characters I'm sure your audience knows. I didn't know who they were because I don't follow I can't keep up with the big two superhero universes above, beyond sort of the top and middle tier characters. And the US Avengers were a bunch of little, like, third, fourth tier characters.
Right.
And I was just blown away by what Al had done in that first issue, making me like a bunch of characters that I didn't know the continuity, and I didn't know where they came from or what their character histories were. And I was getting after editorial on Al. I was getting after editorial on Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor did this amazing, what was it? It was your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Okay.
From Marvel. I'm just citing all these Marvel books. It's an accident. But he did, I think it's issue 7 of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And in it, I don't want to give away the punchline. I'm not going to pitch it to you because then it'll give away the punchline. The story deals with a terminally ill kid that Spider-Man does kind of a Make-A-Wish like thing for, and it'll make you cry. So it's pretty spectacular. Ooh, amazing, spectacular. I made the wrong adjective, but it was great. And so, yeah, I've got a pull list, and I really believe that you got to pay attention. And I would tell anybody that's aspiring to be a writer or an artist that, or as a seasoned veteran, that you really need to pay attention to what's going on in the market. I think the market changes every 2 years, and if you don't keep up, you turn around twice, and it gets away from you. And if it's a place where you want to work, that's a problem. You're out of touch.
Yeah, how do you feel about the? I mean, I know on Instagram we see you posting about, like, hey, this is selling for this is going here. You seem to basically not be against people. Hey, some people are flippers, some people keep. I mean, there are people that flip and still love to keep it for themselves too.
Okay. So this is fun because I'm really specific about what I post, and I think there's some inferences in what you're saying, which is not what I'm saying. So let's talk about them.
All right.
So I took a screenshot of some completed sales on the Berserker #1 second print, which has a Ron Garnier's art and has a foil on it. Now, this is a comic that we offered to the direct market at a $5.99 cover price, and the book is selling for $100. And I looked before we got on the call today, and it's now selling for $125. And I believe that when I posted it to my Instagram, I posted it with 3 emojis where the head was exploding.
Right.
So now, and I understand that there are people that look at that and go, "Oh, you're a speculator," right? And I'm not even going to get the terms right. And obviously, this is a highly politicized sort of topic for a lot of people.
Right.
And I don't mean Republican Democrat political, I mean comic shop politics.
Sure.
And so, to me, it's mind blowing. I know what the print run is on that book. And in my opinion, it's not small. Now, Berserker's a whole other kettle of fish. People will have gone crazy for Keanu, and God knows he's worth going crazy for. I love the guy. But it's amazing. And the print run on that book is insane. And so the head exploding is an authentic reaction, right? Like, I look at that, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right. And then I think people look at it and they go, oh, you're feeding the speculators, or I've seen online chatter of like, oh, Ross feeds the speculators. And, and then I've done posts about the rare covers. I've done the posts on rare covers on Something is Killing Your Children, and I've done the posts. I'm doing a post now on Once a Future. I put one up today. And the thing is that, to me, I'm not posting prices. I'm not telling you that you should go chase them. Okay. Right. These are questions that I get asked. And so are some of the people, I think there's a wide range. I think people don't understand that there's a wide range. There are speculators that they're asking because they want to take advantage of information that nobody knows. And my attitude with that is, I can't control how many questions I get. Okay. And on Instagram, you can get buried in questions, right? So I would rather than not know that somebody's a speculator, because how can I tell? Right. And then they get privy to some information that nobody else has. Right. And then they run off and go do their thing, in which God bless whatever. Right. Sure. Okay. There are real problems in the world. and I'm not, again, I'm going to catch hell because now I'm going to have a bunch of retailers go, speculators are a real problem. Okay. I'm talking about poverty. I'm talking about death, right? There are real problems in the world. Okay?
Right, exactly.
I'm not trying to make light of speculators. I'm not trying to disrespect them. Obviously, this is a controversial topic, but the point is rather than answer a question in personal direct message, I would rather put that information out to everyone at once, right? And so then I'm not telling print runs. People ask me print runs all the time, and I just laugh at them. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you print run. I'm not going to play that game, okay? Because I know that game gets everybody in trouble and everybody gets mad,
Right.
okay? Now, why? That's a different conversation. And maybe sometime, Adrian, you and I will get together at a show and we'll have a beer and laugh about the 15 reasons why everybody gets mad about that. But rather than that, what I would rather do is I'd rather go, okay, here are the, in my opinion, I think I'm an old school collector. Like I got a garage full of Silver Age stuff and I've been collecting since 1982.
Nice.
Okay. So I think when I look at things, I see rarity automatically. And you could be talking about Bronze Age, you could be talking about 80s books, you could be talking about the market now. I look at my competitors, I see rarity, right? I see things that are just obvious to me. And so to me, some of the rare lists are pretty clear, right? I look at it and I go, duh, right? But not everybody does that, right? And some people do. But the point being, I'm just telling you what's rare. I'm not telling you that you should buy it. I'm not telling you that it's worth more because of that, right? I'm not telling you, that's not an endorsement, it's information. And that's information that you can use. And some people, I've been messaged by fans that they adore Something is Killing the Children, and they are earnestly seeking that information. And because the book that they're looking for wasn't on the top 5, after I posted it, that book became cheaper. So they actually got their hands on it.
Oh.
Right? So it's a very complicated thing. And I think it's worth bearing and talking about, because I think that there's speculators and then there's people that are collectors.
Right.
And there's a lot of them and they want the book, and a lot of the collectors, a lot of times they ask me these questions because they want to know which one of the books in their collection that they already own is the rarest. Right.
Sure.
And I'm a back issue collector, and there's all this conversation happening online right now about newsstand, right? I started buying on the newsstand, right? So I know the rarity of newsstand, generally speaking. I don't know circulation numbers like I worked at Marvel or anything, but I can look at a 1980 newsstand edition of Star Wars, and I know that that's vastly more plentiful than a copy of New Mutants number 98 newsstand.
Right.
Right? So it's just information that people can understand to navigate their collection and get and understand, oh, this is a lot more rare than this thing, even though this thing sells for more on eBay. And I'm not coming to people saying, invest in comics, right? I'm not saying spend your grandkids' inheritance on comics.
Right.
And by the way, you should not do that.
Yeah, don't
To be clear, okay? But collect what you want to collect. Buy what you want to buy. It's your money. Have fun. Don't overcommit. Don't get yourself in a trouble financially. Know that tomorrow it could all be worth nothing. I have plenty of comics that I thought were going to be worth $1 million. Frank Miller's Ronin #1. I bought it off the rack when 1984. Went home, put it into a Mylar. To this day, it's not worth a damn thing.
Right. Well, I got Too Much Coffee Man, and that just still hasn't.
I love Too Much Coffee Man. I published Shannon. I knew him back at University of Texas back in the day.
I got Scud. I love Indies.
I love Scud, Disposable Assassin.
Well, you were just talking about Berserker, so let's talk Berserker, man. Let's you just want to tell people, because I loved it. I have every one of them besides
Wow,
1 in 1,000.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of books there. You got a 1 in 500.
Yep.
Boy, howdy. Thank you for the support.
Oh man, of course. I don't know. I loved it that much. I loved Keanu. See, that was the coolest thing for me, because not only was I a comic book fan, but I've been a Keanu fan, going back to you name it. Like back when I probably was in middle school / end of elementary, and me and my buddy, we dress up as Bill and Ted.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
we literally made flyers. I lived in a college town, and we literally made flyers that said Bill and Ted's Excellent Party. And we went and hung up. People showed up at my house like expecting kegs, and we're these two like delinquent kids. I was just like, that's
amazing.
So,
That
but yeah.
is
Anyways,
amazing.
so
I
yeah.
love that. I
So,
saw
yeah.
Bill and Ted's in the theater 11 times at the Dollar Theater.
Yeah,
So.
I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't say how many times I went to. I was like, this is my movie.
This is clearly back when we all had more time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, yeah, definitely. Tell us.
I was trying to find on my phone. I have a video of Keanu signing the 1 in 1000s, but my kids got their hands on my phone, and it's just junked up with all sorts of stuff in here. So I'll probably never find it. But oh, I'm so close. I could feel it. But anyway, this is I can't do this at the same time. You know, we're very blessed and lucky, and you know, we have a great relationship with William Morris, which is Keanu's agency. And when Keanu decided he wanted to do a comic, they recommended that they do the book with us. And so, you know, Boom has a Hollywood division, and we, you know, are in production. You read it in the introduction. We're in production on a Disney Plus show right now called Just Beyond, based on R.L. Stine, you know, the Goosebumps guy, and his comic book graphic novel series that he did with us. And so we had a movie come out during the pandemic called The Empty Man. It came out on Halloween of last year. And we have offices on the Fox lot. Fox was bought by Disney, but basically what remains is called 20th Century. They took 20th Century and Fox, split it in two. And you get a little parking space on the lot that has your name, sure, right? So that nobody steals your parking space. And I had to clear out my car and Keanu's motorcycle. Keanu parked in my space. I wish I'd taken a picture.
Sure.
And so, you know, he came in and pitched us Berserker. And I'll tell you what he pitched us. He pitched us that first issue. You know, he stood up and he said, you know, it's pretty wild. You know, you're sitting in couches, and he stood up and he said, you know, I just want to punch through a dude. Like, I want to punch through a dude and like grab his spine and pull his spine out through his chest. Like, I want to tear a guy's arm off and then beat him to death with the arm.
I can literally see Keanu doing that. I just want to.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to begin to approximate the voice, but you know, he sounds like that. Clearly, everyone's watched hundreds of movies with him in it. Clearly, he sounds like that, but it's amazing. But you know, I can't explain how, you know, that we spent probably like 4 hours, maybe 3-4 hours that day on the story, and it's the first issue. It's exactly what everybody read.
Well, I definitely recommend everyone out there to go read it, because it's, I don't know, I just loved it, you know. And I'm sure somewhere in the back of my head it's like, oh, it's from Canada, so you have to love it. But it was beyond that. It was like, oh, it's another good book I'm excited to read, you know. So,
well, thank you. I think Ron Garney and Matt Kent really did an extraordinary job of like really, you know, Matt I think did a great job of putting a framework for Keanu to function and work in and tell his story. And then Garney's just a complete rock star, you know, his storytelling and his sense of action and the way that his characters emote and express themselves. I mean, he is legit all the way.
We've got a couple of questions from Comic Hunter asked, I'm curious what you think of Bad Ideas, their model, what they're doing, Bad Idea Comics.
Oh, I honestly haven't had a lot of time to pay attention or to focus on it. You know, I'm friends with Dinesh, who owns Bad Idea, and Adam and Hunter Goranson and the guys that are over at that company. And I think that they're really, really smart. And I cheer for all the comic book publishers. We need them all to do well. And if people are excited going to comic book shops, that's good.
Right. So
I hope they flourish, and I hope they do well. And, you know, they're my friends, and I wish them well.
Then we got Taylor Winder. He was dying to know, Do you pay more attention to writers or artists?
Well, I think that, the way that I would put it is one of the things when I started Boom that I thought about was Watchmen. And at the time, it was the best-selling graphic novel of all time. I think probably Raina Telgemeier has sold more than Watchmen now, which make you think about junior high girls. There's more junior high girl readers than there are readers of Watchmen. So watch your step, man. But when you think about Watchmen, everybody thinks of it as an Alan Moore comic book, but Dave Gibbons is one of the greatest artists of his generation. And if you go talk to who's your favorite artist, if you go talk to Alex Ross or to Jim Lee, they point at Dave Gibbons as one of the greatest artists in the history of the medium. And I think it's that combination of a great writer and a great illustrator that it comes together and creates something that's bigger than Alan Moore. It's bigger than Dave Gibbons. It's bigger than superheroes, frankly. And I think that kind of stuff, I don't know what analogy you would use of like music or food. It's like, people that you take your French fries and put them on your burger and it tastes better. Like
Sure.
what's the combination, or it's like, hey, this soup is amazing, but if you put a little pinch of salt on it, it's just through the roof.
Right.
And it's like, what are the things that make greatness? And I think you've got to think about each piece individually and then how it all comes together. You're getting a hell of a lot of publisher think. I'm sure that your audience is not prepared for. But it's like, how do you find a great writer? Okay, you have a great writer. Okay, how do you find a great artist? Okay, it's like the indie question of like thinking about. I don't think about the business as like indies and mainstream. I don't think of it as like writer and artist. You think of it all together, right? And it's like, what's the thing that unites it all and makes it special? And that includes the variants, and it includes the length of the series. It's the whole thing. But I'm a publisher, so I think about it all as a cohesive piece.
Well, I'm just going to say you're a damn good publisher. Okay.
Well, you're very kind. You're either kind or you're drunk, but I appreciate it.
I'm drunk on Bublé. No. We had Bin Hunters. He asked, do you see Mega Man coming back? He was a big fan of the series.
Well, thank you for your support on Mega Man. We don't have plans right now, but that doesn't mean no or never.
Okay. So I know you kind of have I guess you could call it a movie background, right?
Yeah, I made Two Guns. I produced Two Guns in 2012 with Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg, and I have a film degree, and I made Empty Man, which came out during Halloween, and then we've got the TV show going. So yes,
Guilty.
Guilty.
Yes. Well, one thing I was going to ask you: do you ever? I know he's not the only one, but do you ever miss reading your scripts for Arnie? You miss reading the scripts. I want you to know. Come on, read them for me.
The man of 1,000 voices. So, the irony is, when I worked for Arnold, I never had a chance to talk to him directly. So what I did was I read for Arnold's agent, and sort of was kept at the agency level. But so if I walked up to Arnold today, he'd have no idea who I was. I'd have to explain. But we have at least 20 projects, film and TV shows, in development in Hollywood right now. And so I've got more scripts to read than I have time for. So it's a terrific problem to have, and I'm thrilled that I have it. But I don't miss script reading because it's here all the time.
Right. Now, is for the scripts that are coming in now, is that something that you have your number one, number two, number three, like they kind of do with you? Or are you like, you're that one that makes this final? You're like, no, not this, not this, not this. Like, do you make that final? Like, or how's that process for you?
Well, it depends on the project, and it also depends on the talent. And so a lot of that is just specific to what's going on and what's happening. So with Empty Man, that was something. I should back up. With Two Guns, I worked with Blake Masters, the screenwriter, to basically approve Blake and his take and his approach, and then saw every draft as it came through. With Empty Man, I pitched Empty Man with David Pryor to the studio, and Pryor was the writer-director on that. And so, at the same time, I can't do all 20 projects in development at once. So I'm thinking a lot about Slam, which just got announced, which you have in the middle of the graphics here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody's hip to this, but Pamela Ribben, she was the writer of Moana, which I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter, so that Moana is gigantic in my house.
Right. Yeah. I can imagine.
And Pamela is just a stone cold genius. And on Slam, I had a lot less sort of like things to say, and it was a lot more of like, get the hell out of the way and let Pamela do her thing. So
Sure.
it depends.
All right. We had a promiscuous. By the way, if anyone else there has questions, please type them in, and we'll try to get them answered for you. We had promiscuous time traveler ask, how do you balance having a good quality book and making a profit?
Well, I mean, that's the trick. And I think a lot of it is you've got to figure out as a publisher, certain topics are hotter than others, which means that they have a bigger audience than others. When I started the company, we did Zombie Tales, and that was a big hit, and because people love zombies. And that was before Walking Dead was on TV, but when Walking Dead was a hit comic. And then we did Lovecraft Tales, and guess what? Not Lovecraft Tales, I think it was called Cthulhu Tales. And so that was popular because Lovecraft has an articulated audience. And then we did Ninja Tales, and we failed miserably because there's not a very clean, articulated ninja audience. And we did Pirate Tales, and that failed miserably because there's not a bunch of pirate fans that are, So you learn these things the hard way, and then you kind of figure out like, okay, well, this is really high quality, but the cover's a little weird and people are having a hard time understanding what the hell it is. Or this is a really great book and great cover and cool idea, and there is absolutely no audience for stories about bees. Just not, nobody cares, right? And so you just kind of have to iterate and go through that, and that's the process of learning to publish. And then hopefully you make enough mistakes, because you make them all the time, to get to the place where you have more hits than you have misses.
Right.
And then, School of Hard Knocks, blah, 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 blah. But the real answer would be, I'll let you know when I figure it out. But
Well, you're saying, like you're just saying hits there, like, and I just wanted, like, so somebody's killing the children, Berserker, Lumberjanes, Once and Future, Slam, The Woods. Like, does that ever kind of just like bog your mind? Like, these are just such powerful books. I know we may have touched about this a little bit, but that, because that's just, to me, that's just literally a handful. And I feel like there's so many, so much more. But how does that make you feel that these, even like just those, they just resonate so well with people?
Well, I am only grateful and thankful for that. And, I'll give you the answer you're not expecting, which is that I'm more bothered by what doesn't work. So, the thing that doesn't quite sell what I thought would sell, or the thing that didn't quite find the audience reaction that I thought for sure people would love and really care about. And then I'm like, oh no. And I go beat myself up and go, what did I do wrong? And that was a series of bad decisions. And I made this mistake and that and the other. And so I'm sure my mind works like most people's, which is the negative things draw your attention.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. And then the things that are, the quote from Michael Jordan is, I never envisioned the ball not going into the bucket.
Right.
So, now I'll tell you, like, we knew that the Keanu book would sell, but we didn't know it was going to sell like this. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to try to be cool, right? Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, I knew it was happening. No.
and I'll tell you, like, when I sat down with Once and Future, I remember really vividly sitting down, first issue of Once and Future, all said and done, printed fresh. This is like 2 weeks before it hit stands. Sit down at my desk. I'm like, I'm going to read this like I'm a fan, right? I'm going to have the experience, right? Hold it in your hand. I read it. I was like, this is a big fat hit, right? And I remember when Something is Killing the Children, same thing. Sat down with the first copy, bam, read it like you're a fan. I was like, oh my God, right? So I'm not going to try to be like, doop a doop a doop a doop. I was like, no, these are big books. They're going to be big. Did I know they were going to be that big? No. You know, so a lot of this is, you know, it's crazy. It's incredible. I'm only thankful for people's support, you know, and people have supported us in such a massive way. It's so appreciated.
DJ Links wanted to know, are you producing the Berserker film or do you have any involvement?
I am producing it, yes.
Awesome. There you go, DJ Links. Dale Suspense said, have you ever suffered from FOMO and purchased a book that soon after tanked? And what was that book? He's getting really specific.
Oh, well, that's funny. I don't like, that's not how I collect. If we're talking about my personal collection. So when I was a little kid, I mean, seriously, like I bought my first giant size X-Men when I was 12 in 1982. And I sort of mowed lawns and, you know, I didn't have a paper route, but that kind of stuff, washed cars to save up the money. And I was always such a cheap bastard. Like, I can't tell you what a cheap bastard I was. And so I never chased trends. I never went after, the only thing I ever really shelled money out for was Uncanny X-Men, the John Byrne run. And those books only ever appreciated. And so I managed to not overpay. But yeah, I was really, my mindset was like, I'm not going to get swept up in whatever the big trend or whatever the big hotness is this week. And I always bought, like, when everybody moved on and the prices fell down, that's when I went in and bought the books.
Right.
So, like when the Punisher was over and nobody wanted the Punisher, that's when I went in and got all my Punisher comics.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, my mom was, I grew up in Texas. I grew up in South Texas, and my mom used to take me down to the Mexican border, and we used to shop. And it's a real bargain environment where you negotiate everything.
Oh, sure.
And that really informed my perspective, where I was always like, oh, you know, give and take, and, you know, sort of why pay retail. You know, so that's how I built my collection.
Oh, in your collection, I'm curious, like, do you yourself have a lot of slabs, or do you keep, or is it majority raw books?
Well, it's vast majority is raw books, but I have a lot of slabs. I'm not, you know, don't be fooled. I have a lot of graded books.
Let's see if we can grab another question.
I mean, I peaked at 75 long boxes, so just so you know who you're
okay.
dealing. Yeah.
You're like, all right, that's enough. That's enough.
My wife was like, we're gonna need to talk about what you're doing.
Need your own storage facility. You gotta.
It starts to become a problem. Yeah.
You're going to work. You got like an office filled.
Yeah, it's a problem.
DJ Links X, what was your favorite title that you published that really wasn't embraced? I'm thinking he's referring to something else we were talking about, but it wasn't embraced, like maybe Berserker or something.
Oh, that's so painful. I can't do it. There's so many things I love that nobody cared about, and they died a terrible death. And I don't want to single the poor creators out.
I got you. He loves them all, everyone.
I really do. Yeah, and it is, you know, again, it's that fear of loss thing where you just, when things don't work, it hurts so bad.
Well, it's funny. Comic Hunter, he asked a question that's almost like a kind of a good follow-up to that. They said, which book do you wish people knew more about that didn't get the credit it deserved? So maybe not necessarily on Boom, but is there something that you're like, oh, I wish more people would have known about this book? Or
well, I it's sort of the same thing, which is I hesitate to single series out because the creators will feel like they are being picked on. But I would sort of tilt the question a little bit, and I would go, what book would I recommend to your audience that your audience likely has not read?
There we go.
Okay. So, one thing I see over and over and over and over again on Instagram is people that discovered Boom through Berserker and Something is Killing the Children and Once in the Future. They love The Last Witch.
Okay.
And The Last Witch is sort of a fantasy story set in the medieval era. Think like Brave, the Disney movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's a female lead, and she's a young girl, sort of teenager, young teenager. And basically her dad says, don't go out in the woods. And there's a witch's tower out there, but the witch is gone. And what does she do? She goes out into the woods. And guess what? The witch is not gone. So I will leave it there. But, I get hit over and over and over again by people on Instagram that are like, I love Berserker, I love Something's Killing the Children, I love Once in the Future, and I love The Last Witch. So, very different story than Once in the Future and Something is Killing the Children, but people really respond to it. So I would recommend that.
BB asked, are you creating a universe that connects? Like they're saying Seven Secrets, Once in the Future, Something's Killing the Children, etc. Maybe.
Next question.
Next question. All right, we're moving along here. Let's see. Titan Comic Preston has. Well, we kind of went over that. We talked about the speculator and the market, so we don't need to ask that again. Let's see.
I can talk another 10 minutes about that.
Right. He does not speculate. He just shows what's rare, and books that he thinks are great.
I mean, it's let me, since it did kind of come back up, let me say this, and now I'm going to get a little bit of my stern voice.
Okay.
So, right. So let me speak to the speculators specifically. Okay. Right. I think, well, there's been plenty of times that I've been in a shop and the book is up and it has a little sign on it that says limit one per customer. And I didn't know what the hell that book was, but I bought it because it said limit one per customer. Okay. Because that got me interested. And I was like, what's this that everybody's excited about it? Okay. But I think that when you're the guy or lady who goes in and disrupts your local shop, and you do it by, there's a stack and you're going to go buy the stack and you're going to artificially short the book in the comic shop, right? What you do is you need to think about the negative effect that you're having, right? So it's like there's X number of people that are interested in reading it and they're going to be disappointed.
Sure.
There's the store owner who is disrupted, right? And so they're going to have negative customer experiences, which is going to reflect negatively on their store. And what I would encourage speculators to do is to think beyond just their own personal needs and think about the community and think about the ecosystem that you live in. And, it's one thing to see a book announced. Like, let's say you see our Magic the Gathering book and you decide, I mean, how many Magic the Gathering comic book fans are there? Excuse me, how many Magic the Gathering game fans are there?
Oh, sure.
It's like infinite. There's a billion,
right?
And so you sit there and you go, even at selling 8 times as well as the previous series, that's a lot less than there are Magic card game fans. So there's a supply and demand there of like, there's never going to be enough comics to satiate all the Magic card players, right? So let's say you decide, oh, I'm going to spec on Magic the Gathering. The thing is pre-orders is how you can do that without disrupting the system, right? So you can place, if your local shop doesn't take pre-orders, which they will, but if they don't, you can do that online, right? There's plenty of stores, Things from Another World or Midtown Comics, or all of them. There's eBay sellers, right? And you can go order, but that's how you can get your hands on multiple copies and not destroy where you're shopping, right? Because there can be a very negative effect. And the other thing I would do is I would encourage your audience to work with their retailers. reach out to your retailer and be like, hey, I'm really excited about this. How do I get my hands on it? How do I work collaboratively with you so that I don't disrupt your store? I'm not here to make your life miserable and get,
Sure.
make you take Anacin because I'm here.
Right.
And so that's the thing that I think is an approach that is much more sustainable long-term, because we don't need everybody chasing, a book to flip for $10 and burn the industry down.
Right.
We're all in it. We're in it together.
That's
right?
true.
So,
well, I like that answer, and thanks for being stern and to the point.
hopefully I'm reasonable.
Oh yeah, no, there's no reason. David Martinez asked, although I don't think you would sell them, but he said, all-time favorite slab that you would never sell that you kept and hasn't left your collection.
My Amazing Fantasy 15 signed by Stan Lee.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
beautiful.
Thank you.
Gary B, the casual comic guy, said, are you most excited about this year's hits, or is there a secret potential hit you're waiting to unleash?
Always.
And treasure the comic world by Storm.
always. We're not ready for my uppercut. Bam!
Wow.
Yeah, we got a big one coming in the back half of the year. So watch out. And I got an update on 2 in next year. So today I was in a staff meeting and we got 2 more coming next year. So
let's see here. Promiscuous Time Travel asked, what paper is the best for books for quality of color and retention of ink?
Here's the sad truth is in 2007, I could give you the answer on that, whether it be 65 pound or 75 pound, and what point. But now I've got production people, and Kate Henning is a genius, and whatever Kate Henning says, I just trust automatically. I don't even look anymore. So I'm a little out of touch is the truth. I'm about 10 years out from being able to go toe to toe with you on those.
I know in your channel that you do a thing where you kind of explain people that are trying to basically get into the business, right? Mm-hmm. You go over like little facts and little ways to basically help people. Because I wrote a story when I was a young man called The Pizza Man. Mm-hmm. And he goes around on crazy adventures. I mean, his first adventure, he's dealing with Dracula, Wolfman, and everybody.
All right. And he's just trying to deliver pizza.
Exactly. That's the best part about it. He's not a super guy. He's just this normal pizza guy.
Yep.
Well, is there is there anything else? I've seen a few of them. Somebody's like, are there Eddie something is killing the children secret gems you can drop? Which I would say probably not, but go ahead. Okay.
there is no such thing as a secret gem on something that's killing the children. If I told you one tiny little fact, the internet would break in half. So
do it here, Ross. Do it here, would you?
Yeah. Well, you gotta be patient because the reaction on it is so big.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is there are going to be many big, exciting developments.
Okay.
And many of them are coming soon.
Awesome.
And many of them are coming before Christmas. So it's going to be a full year.
Oh, that's it. Not that far out. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'll just talk about something that anybody can see on the internet. Did you see the free comic book day offering?
I don't know.
There we go. So maybe your audience hasn't seen this. We're offering for free comic book day a book that is simply called The House of Slaughter. And I'll just leave that there, and you can go Google the rest.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I think, was there anyone else that had any other questions? Otherwise, I can let this man get back to his day of insanity and reading comics and doing so much fun. I'll just wait a few more seconds. Again, everybody that's been in the chat, thank you for watching us and listening to us. And
thank you for giving me a job. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm for putting food on my children's plates.
We enjoy it. Again, I thank you for coming on my channel. Is there anything else, like any last words, anything you want to say to everybody? And, you know, take as much time as you want. I'll pretend we're on hot ones. That camera there, that camera there.
So I would encourage you, if you're interested in the process of making comics, to check out my YouTube channel where I talk to folks like James Tynan and Kieran Gillen and Al Ewing about how you make, how to pitch and how to create comics and how to write comics. And if you are interested, check out my Instagram. I'm putting all sorts of crazy stuff up there every day. We had, there's this great kid, I think he's 8 years old, that does reviews, and he put up a picture of holding Berserker and was like, I'm too young to read this. And I was like, yes, you are, bro. Do not read that. That's not okay. So I post that. That's my profile. So I'm not sure how good it is, but I always try to make it entertaining. So check out my Instagram, and that's probably all that I got to say. Besides, if Easter is a thing that you participate in, I hope you have a great Easter weekend.
Awesome. And his links will all be down below right now, guys. So if you need to follow his Instagram or his YouTube, just click down there and say hello to Ross.
Much appreciated. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.